Oklahoma will be Auburn's biggest game.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up. We're joined by the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend himself. We're talking about Auburn's most important games, the most crucial games on Auburn's 2024 football schedule. We got our top five. I think Oklahoma, Darrell, and as you stated, you disagree. I believe Oklahoma is Auburn's most important game when you look at all of the options this upcoming season. There's a big talk about, okay, can Auburn get above 7 wins? Can they get to 8? Can they get to 9? And I think not only the placement of where Oklahoma is, it'd be the 5th game on Auburn's schedule, and starting 5-0 gives you such a good opportunity to get to 8 or 9 wins if they're able to pull it off. But I also just think the statement that it makes says, hey, you're not going to come to Jordan-Hare Stadium and just win. Oklahoma, we don't care about you. It's great that you've wanted to become a part of the SEC for so long, but we've been here. We know what it takes to win in this conference. I just think the positioning of it as far as the time of the schedule, and then also what it would mean from a program standpoint and from the development of the 2024 season standpoint, I think Oklahoma at home for Auburn's 5th game is the most important game on Auburn's schedule, Darrell.
I agree with every single thing you said, and it's part of the reason why I have them at number 2. So after I give you number 1, I'll transition. Maybe you'll let me go and give my number 2 first to just kind of make a little segue, because it's a lot of the points that you made are excellent. And it's exactly why I had it so high. I have Alabama 1, and I will always have Alabama 1. And here's the reason. Last year I did, when we did this exercise, and we kind of chuckled at that. And then look at, just in hindsight, look at how that was the most important game. I'm going to give you 3 factors. Number 1, it's the difference between Auburn getting 6 and 7 wins. Number 2, it would have knocked Alabama, your biggest rival, out of the college football playoff. And number 3, there's a fun little conspiracy theorist out there that says if Alabama lost that game and didn't make the playoffs, Saban would have come back this year. So I'm just saying that's huge. Now put that aside and let's focus on 2024. It's your biggest rival. That's never going away. I don't care what the records are. I don't care what part of the season. You want to beat your biggest rival, and the biggest rival is your best game. You battle for them for recruits. You go after the same players. You're battling for state supremacy. You're trying to get back to the level playing field now that Saban's hit the door. Yes. All those reasons, and it's on the road. I'll talk about this more later when we get down the list, but I am a firm believer that Auburn will not be back all the way to the program that they want to be until they're competitive or beat Alabama and Georgia on the road, and Alabama more importantly, because Auburn did it for a very, they had a lot of success in Tuscaloosa for a long time. You beat Alabama in Alabama, you're back, baby. And that's why I think it's 100.
Alabama's on my list. They're in my top 5. They're not 1 or 2. If they win, if Auburn wins in Tuscaloosa, I mean, it instantly becomes the biggest, right? Much like if they would have won last year, it certainly would have been Auburn's biggest win. To me, I just don't think if they go to Tuscaloosa and lose, which is what everybody, maybe outside of Auburn folks, believe is going to happen, and it's the most likely scenario is that they go to Tuscaloosa and lose at the end of the season. I don't think that's what changes where you are as far as what you need to do to make your next step as a program. It's a huge step. Like you said, Auburn's not going to get to the point where it's competing for championships until it's competitive with Georgia and Alabama away from Jordan-Hare Stadium. I agree with that. I just don't think that's the next step of what Hugh Freeze is trying to do. I think the next step is, can you consistently win 8 or 9 games, and then you worry about competing with Alabama and Georgia. So once again, I agree with everything you said. I just think you skipped a step. And I think focusing on finding ways to win these toss-up games, these games that you are certainly capable of winning, especially at home, to me, I think that's what needs to be the biggest focus. And when you talk about impact on a season, most important games that you're looking at and circling as far as, okay, what's the next step for Auburn football? The next step for Auburn football is not to win the SEC championship. It's not to beat the top teams. The next step for Auburn football, realistically, is can you consistently win 8 to 9 or maybe even 10 games?
Good points. I think we have this unique contradiction that the fact that this game becomes so big, it's a weird dynamic that it's not that big if you lose it, but it becomes the most important season-altering game if you win it. That's why I keep going back to last year. And yeah, I get it. You're not realistically, you're saying, well, if Auburn wants to compete for SEC West or SEC titles, they're a year away. Beating Alabama does that next year at Jordan-Hare. It helps at Jordan-Hare. I say this. I say that some of these toss-ups, maybe Auburn wins these toss-ups. Maybe Auburn in year 2 has passed that threshold and wins some of these toss-up matchups. So thereby making Alabama even bigger if you get by some of these toss-ups that we'll talk about. But again, it is what it is. It's just the biggest feel, the biggest hype, the biggest just of the season. I cannot run from it. It is, to me, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think a note that you added there actually supports Oklahoma being a bigger game than Alabama as far as the 2024 season is, because you have to add the caveat as if they win or if they lose. Because last year, if we would have done a show where we said the San Jose State game is one of the most important games on Auburn's schedule, we would have been laughed at. But
you mean New Mexico
yes,
State?
That's what I meant to say. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, the New Mexico State game. I just wanted that corner so bad. I think I'm still the Cole kid is just.
You got Sparty on the brain.
That's it. But we never would have said that game would have been one of the most important games, and it was. Now, sadly, the impact was negative, against Auburn, not in Auburn's favor. But that was one of the more important games of Auburn's schedule last year, just because of the outcome.
You're kind of proving the point
that beforehand.
Yeah, but see, that's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you. It wasn't a big game if Auburn wins it, but it became one of the most important games of the schedule because they lost it. And I'm just saying we can look in hindsight back when the season is over. I'm predicting that looking back, we can look back and say that was the most important. Are you
predicting a dub? So you're predicting a dub?
No, I'm predicting that we can look back and say, certain games that this is fun predicting it now, but 100%. I'm trying to see into the future and see what could change. But now, my second one is Oklahoma. Yeah, and here's why. Number one, new school from the Big 12, all the hype. I believe that if you come out of September with 5 wins, let's just assume, and we'll talk about why I have another school on there that may be surprising, but let's just assume you go 4-0. Sure. And you come out of September, you're playing 5 football games in September. Could you imagine, Zach, being 1 win away from bowl eligibility and it's not even October yet?
Be great.
In my opinion, it's the difference between Auburn winning 6 games and perhaps winning 8 if they get by Oklahoma, and getting to be 5-0 and having a perfect September. And it's big because you want to hold court. You want to hold that home serve. You've been given a gift of the first 5 games of the year being at home. Don't blow it. You've got to take advantage of that. And to do that, you got to go 5-0. And to do that, you got to beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. And obviously, I agree with everything you're saying there. That's why Oklahoma is number 1 for me. 100%. We're in agreement there on how big that game is. My number 2 on my list, my second most important game on Auburn's schedule this year, for similar reasons, I have Texas A&M. It's just on the other side of the schedule. Obviously, Auburn hosts Texas A&M. This will be, I assume it'll be senior day. It's the last home game. And then obviously they go to Alabama the next week. But to me, this is going to be a situation where, especially if you're in the majority, where you don't expect Auburn to win the Iron Bowl this year in Tuscaloosa, it's like, all right, if you're at 7 wins, can you get to 8? Or if you're at 8 wins, can you get to 9? And I think Texas A&M is going to be crucial. You're going up against Texas A&M in a lot of recruiting battles. And honestly, I think we're in a unique situation when you talk about like the hierarchy and tiers of different programs and where they are in the SEC. I think Auburn and Texas A&M are battling a little bit. And so you want to stick out your chest and say, hey, you're not going to be able to win here. Because last time Auburn hosted Texas A&M, some pretty cool things happened. The Cadillac game. And so we'll see if that kind of trend can continue. We've talked about it a million times. These toss-up games, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, those are the 2 toss-up games at home. You've got to protect Jordan-Hare Stadium. You've got to kind of send the message. If you're Hugh Freeze, your fan base showed out at Jordan-Hare Stadium last year and your team didn't close. You got to close this year. You got to win the toss-up home games. So I've got Oklahoma 1. I've got Texas A&M 2, slightly edging out a few road games just because they're at home. I think they're so important.
Yeah, I think that these toss-up games are very important, and they can totally flip your season on a dime. I think the concern that I have, or the reason why I didn't put Texas A&M even in my top 5, is I just expect Auburn to win that game. I feel really, really good about Auburn winning that game late in the year. And so that's why I just haven't put as much emphasis or importance on that. I get it. It's a big game. I just don't think it's as crucial as some of the others that we'll talk about.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
My number 3.
Hold on. Yeah,
go ahead.
We'll jump into our number 3s next. In the meantime, comment down below. What are your top 5 most important games on Auburn's schedule? We jump into our number 3s in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Darrell, can you imagine buying a ticket? Can you imagine buying a ticket anywhere else? I certainly can't.
I just bought some yesterday.
Did you really?
Yes, I bought some Braves tickets for the Mets series the end of September. Taking my brother-in-law for his birthday. We were sitting for Mother's Day. We're all sitting around and pulled up my phone, pulled up the app. We looked at where we were going to sit. I sent it to him, an RSVP feature that Game Time has that he can see it. Bam, order the tickets. They'll be sent to me before the game starts. So I'm pretty fired up.
Yeah, we love Game Time. Anytime I'm going to an event, Game Time has won me over, not just because they're a sponsor, but they're genuinely, it's the best experience as far as, ease. You don't have to log in a million times. I've bought tickets other places where you got to use the same login a million times. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all with Game Time. So be sure to check them out. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Darrell, I'll let you lead this segment. Which game is the third most important for Auburn's 2024 schedule?
Missouri. Because Auburn plays Georgia, not the week before, but the game before, and there's a bye week between Georgia and Missouri, I think it's important for a variety of reasons. Number one, if Auburn struggles in Athens, how are they going to take that off week and regroup, and what are they going to look like at Missouri? Mm-hmm. Number two, Missouri is one of the 3 games that I just think the national pundits and experts and the people that look at this feel like Auburn's going to lose. It's not a toss-up game. They think Auburn's going to get beat. Missouri's getting a lot of love. I think if you're Auburn and you can go on the road after a bye week and after playing Georgia and sneak one against Missouri, in my opinion, it could be the difference between winning 7 to 8 games and winning 9. Because you steal that one on the road that everybody has you already written off and thinks you're going to lose.
Yeah, right.
To me, it's the most winnable other than Kentucky. Kentucky's not considered a loss. Like they 3 losses, Alabama, Georgia, Missouri. That's what the national pundits are saying. So if you can get that one, especially coming off, like I said, a bye week, you can have a real shot at 9 wins.
Yeah, and I think Missouri's my number 3 as well. And I think it can be one where on paper, I'm not sold that Missouri is just way better than you. I'm just not quite sold on that. I think it is if you compare last year's Missouri to last year's Auburn, but when you look at the current rosters, somehow Missouri is recruiting way better than I think they should. And I don't think this is a long-term thing. I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a flash in the pan. But to me, the pressure is going to be all on Missouri, especially if Auburn is sitting with just 1 loss when they go to Columbia and their only loss is Georgia. To me, that's a top 25 matchup. Mm-hmm. You're going on the road. And I actually would predict if that were to happen, which I think we both predict will happen if they go to Missouri with 1 loss. Are you cool with that? Are you
absolutely.
Cool with yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Don't want to put words in your mouth. I think Auburn could be the sleeper in that. And I think this could be the opportunity where Auburn can kind of make a national statement. They go to Columbia as a top 25 team, beat maybe a top 10 Missouri team. We'll see. But that would be the signature win so far for Hugh Freeze and the Tigers if they were to do that. Yeah, I've got Missouri as my 3rd most important game as well, Darrell. Right behind that, I've got Kentucky on the road as my 4th most important game. And for similar reasons, even if you drop the one to Missouri, Hugh Freeze, they need another solid road win. Arkansas last year doesn't cut it. That Arkansas team stinks from a year ago. It may be worse even this year. So I think you need to prove that you can go on the road and beat a solid SEC team. Can Kentucky be that victim if you fall short in Athens and in Columbia against Mizzou? So I've got Kentucky as the fourth most important game on the schedule.
Similar to why I did not put Texas A&M on the list is I just expect Auburn to win that game.
Got it as a win. I got you.
So, but I will say this, don't lose it. you lose that game, and we'll talk about another game that really, then if you lose those 4 road games, man, you better go undefeated in everything else to even get to 8 wins. That's why it's that important. But I think Auburn does. My 4th game was Georgia. And people are automatically putting that down as an L. And I'm not saying it's a most important game because you necessarily have to win it. It's a really, really important game on how you play and how you show up. And are you finally going to, play well and this game be close in battle in Athens? If you
it's like a moral victory kind of thing.
Well, I want to gauge it as I hate moral victories, and I would throw a participation trophy against the wall. What I'm saying is
that's kind of what it sounds like.
It
so
does.
I want to give you the opportunity to kind of make sure that's not what it is.
It's a gauge of how it's a measuring stick game is what it is. So, No, I'm not going to come out of that and go, woohoo, Auburn stay within a touchdown. But what I will say is Auburn hasn't played well in Athens in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And if this game is close late, it will speak volumes to me as to where Hugh Freeze has this program, and it can be used as a springboard to go into that crucial Missouri game 2 weeks later after the bye week. So I think this is an important measuring stick to see where Auburn's program has come, how far it's come.
I love the placement of the bye week after that first road game against Georgia, because it's going to be physical. And you're going to want as much time as possible to prep for Missouri, because we both agree that's a top 3 game on the schedule in regards to importance. You could make the argument that it should be higher than that. You really could if you really wanted to. But all in all, it's obviously going to be an important one. So, yeah, to me, the Georgia game is not top 5 in my mind. I don't think Auburn's going to win this game. Once again, we can add the caveat that if they do, it becomes the biggest win possible on your schedule, which would be great. And I think it kind of sends a trend if you're Hugh Freeze and you say, hey, this is my era of Auburn football. And boy, would that get the fan base excited and rejuvenated. And you talk about making a national statement. A lot of people would then pick Auburn probably against Missouri, 2 weeks later when they go to Columbia. So I'm with you. I understand why you have that up there.
I doubt it. And here's why. No matter what Auburn does, in my opinion, and I don't want to have that little brother syndrome, there is a faction of voters and writers that would say it was a fluke. Auburn will come back down to earth against Missouri. Watch. That's what will happen. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Until Auburn starts to establish consistency, people will not give them the benefit of the doubt or the credit. They will think that's a fluke, and they will predict that Auburn will come back down to earth against Missouri.
I hope we get a chance to see if they do or not. That'd be great. But because of that, I don't have them in my top 5 for that reason. I'm now genuinely curious who your 5th team is. And we'll discuss who that is in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, can you imagine buying a car part anywhere other than eBay Motors? No. Can you imagine leaving your house to go get a car part? You just get it shipped right to your door.
Yeah, that's the convenience of it. You can put in all the information you need. It gets shipped to your door, and then you're ready to rock and roll.
When you go to a physical place, unlike eBay Motors, you can't just type in your car model, make and model, and what exactly you need. You've got to search through all these aisles and ask these people that aren't super helpful.
Good luck getting somebody to help you with that.
Good luck.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good luck with eBay Motors. They've got it all covered for you. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you're always guaranteed it's guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Darrell, the number 5 most important game on Auburn's schedule to me going into 2024, I've got the Iron Bowl here. I just couldn't leave it out of the top 5 for similar reasons that you said at number 1. I just don't think it's that likely. We've talked ever since the schedule came out about the toss-up games. How many games can Auburn win among these toss-ups? And that's why I had to have them, those 4 toss-up games, above Alabama, above Georgia, above, several other of these games. Vandy at home, I actually think there's an argument there as well. But to me, I've got Alabama at 5 just because I had to put the toss-up games first. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri, and Kentucky. I think those are the games that folks aren't expecting you to win, that are all 4 of those are winnable. And to me, if you take care of those 4 games, like, you can go 10-2 and kind of have an outside shot at making the college football playoff. So I've got those 4 ahead of Alabama for that reason.
Good point. I think all the same reasons that I talked about why I had it number 1. You have some reasons there at number 5. I have Arkansas as number 5. Okay. So why would you say that? Well, number 1, to get to 5-0, you have to be 4-0 first. And it's the first conference game of the 2024 season. And I don't care what anybody says and who you're playing, conference games hit differently, especially inaugural ones of the season. There's a different feel. There's a whole different atmosphere around them. So Auburn has to win that game. It's a must win. If Auburn, number 1, like I said, it's a conference game. It's at home. If Auburn was to lose that game, Zach, I think that it could spiral into mediocrity for the rest. I think it'd be very, very hard if you lose to Arkansas at home to get to 8 wins. I just do. I don't know where you would, because then you would probably not be favored against Oklahoma, and then you'd have to steal one on the road against Kentucky. There's just a lot of what ifs. Auburn, and to me, has to come out of September at least 4-1 to have a shot to get 8 wins. And you ain't going to be 4-1 in my. And I mean, you could lose to Arkansas and then beat Oklahoma. Of course, you could. But I think to get to 5, but probably not. And to get to 5-0, you have to be 4-0 first. And this is why it's that important, and especially it being the conference opener. I just think it's a must win, and because it's a must win in my eyes, it becomes one of the top 5 important games.
That's interesting. So you have Arkansas ahead of Cal and Vandy because it's the first SEC opener.
I have it in front of Cal because it's a conference game, so that by default is more important. And I have it against above Vandy because I think Arkansas is a little better than Vandy.
That's cool.
And it's the first one, not later in the year.
I gotta have those 3 games in the same tier in my brain, so that's why I asked that question. Yeah, Arkansas' schedule going into Auburn is odd. So their second game, they go to Oklahoma State, which is interesting. They may lose that game. And then they host UAB the week before. And I just don't know why you would do that.
I'll tell you
why would you host UAB? Because they can line up and beat a lot of lower tier, P4 programs. And I kind of think that's where Arkansas is right now.
Oklahoma State will be favored against Arkansas. And I think it'll be a 5-6 point spread. I really do. And then UAB can come in there and upset you. And even if they don't, I think Arkansas is going to have to expend a lot of energy to beat UAB. So
you can't look ahead, or UAB will beat you.
You cannot. You cannot look ahead. It's very similar to what happened with New Mexico State last year. If you're Arkansas, do not take that game for granted. And if you're licking your wounds from the Cowboys, the Pokes putting one on you, it could get dangerous and slippery for Sammy Pittman from that point on.
And then they've got to travel to Auburn. And to me, I just don't think this is. I'm with you in the sense of, like, if you lose this, it's devastating for your season. I just don't see how Auburn does lose this game. Arkansas stinks. They weren't good last year, and then they've seemingly gotten worse. Like, they lost all of their good pieces. To me, I just don't see.
That's why it's so important, because you cannot
but then you can use that argument, though. Well, you could use that argument for Cal.
Nope, because it's not a conference game. I just think it's different.
But if you still lose it.
Well, yeah, but I think, first of all, Well, Cal's probably better than Arkansas.
I haven't looked super into it, but I don't have an argument against it.
Ott makes them better than our Ott is an elite back. He's one of the top. All the preseason.
Did Arkansas lose Rocket Sanders? Is he gone?
I believe they did.
Okay.
Ott is a top 8 back in the country. Now he ran that mouth a little bit and found out the hard way. And now he's coming to Jordan Hare.
Oh, he went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like nobody wants to be in Arkansas. KJ's gone, right? It's like what's going on? Soon Pittman's going to be gone after the Auburn game, depending on how the UAB and Oklahoma State game go for Arkansas. So
isn't Petrino their offensive coordinator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which could be something. I don't know. To me, I think they're so into basketball right now. I don't know. I just think that game is so winnable. But all right, cool. So you've got Bama, Oklahoma, Missouri, Georgia, and Arkansas as your top 5 most important games. And I've got Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama. Let us know your thoughts. Drop your 5 below. Which of our 2 lists do you like the most? Give us some feedback if you like these kind of debate shows. We'll we can. It's gonna be a long off season, so we can certainly do as many of these as you guys want. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Mondays and Tuesdays, various shows on the Auburn Network, and then Wednesdays and Fridays with you.
Yes, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.